All right. This is the last session of Decipher. So, um, this has been great. It's been a great 2 days. I think this last panel is going to be kind of bring it all home. This is about real world solutions to real world problems, kind of getting to scale. And you're going to hear, some tangible ways that we're using blockchain at Algorand to actually solve problems in real life for real people. And it's exciting, and so it's the reason I came to Algorand was because of the impact aspect of it, and that the fact that new technologies can actually bring people in financially, they can impact their lives positively, and they can create a more, ultimately, in my belief, a more just and a more sustainable world. So that's, as I said at the beginning of this conference, that's kind of who we are and what we believe at our core. It's part of our genesis story. And, I think we're all thrilled to be part of that and to be working, at the end of the day for something larger than our own collective self-interest. So I think this panel will bring that to light. They're going to be talking about some exciting things that they're announcing now and some things that we're going to be doing in the future. So to bring us all home, as the song says, we've got ATech co-founder Niall Dennehy. We've got the CEO of the Disaster Services Corporation of St. Vincent de Paul Society, Liz Disco-Shearer. We've got Ashish Thakker of the Wine 9 and Mara Group. We've got Doug Broughton of Vendible. We've got Unerbot, the CTO of Eureka. And we have Staci Warden, CEO of Algorand. So welcome.
Okay, why isn't this a full room? Okay, Jason, next Decipher, we are not opening the bar until every last panel is done. Hi, Liz.
Good morning.
So this panel is about real-world adoption for impact at scale. It's going to be one of the most exciting and, I dare say, important panels of the entire 2 days of Decipher, which is saying a lot, ladies and gentlemen. And I want to start with a couple of words, Liz Disco-Shearer, from you. You run the St. Vincent de Paul Disaster Relief Recovery organization, and you are one of the most impressive women I've ever met, I will say, and it is an honor to know you. And because I know you can handle it, we've switched up the order a little bit on you. And so we're going to, I just want you to paint, if you wouldn't mind, a little bit of a picture of your work and a little bit of how hard it kind of is in the real world, how important it is and how hard it is. And then we will, maybe I'll ask you a follow-up question, and then we'll play the video that you've done, and then we'll move to Niall to talk about kind of the new technology and how we do it. Does that sound okay with you?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, great. So tell us about St. Vincent de Paul. Tell us how you got into it and the mission of St. Vincent de Paul and what life is like.
Well, the mission of St. Vincent de Paul is to provide person-to-person services to families impacted by man-made and natural disasters across the U.S. and American territories. Our world is very busy, and because of climate change, the intensity of disasters is much different than it was even a decade ago. I've been in this since Hurricane Katrina, and we are so very excited to be looking at new technology because it's been difficult for us to serve families. Right now, we're managing 32 disasters across the U.S. and American territories, and trying the logistics after COVID have been extremely difficult to get supplies to families, furniture, and other direct aid services. And so we're looking at new technologies that can help us and expedite that process because there's so many people suffering. I just came from Florida. I was in the Fort Myers area, Orlando, Sarasota, Venice, and the devastation is unbelievable. The intensity of the storms, as I mentioned, due to climate change, keeps growing. And so every day, it's a 24/7 day, it seems. It used to be we'd have maybe 1 or 2 major disasters a year, and it's now, we're having billion-dollar disasters every month. So we need technology to help us provide humanitarian relief.
Now tell us how you do give cash. I mean, you have your house in a box as well, which is a really interesting concept. But you also give cash, and how has that worked for you in the past? Like, what's the kind of mechanics of how that's worked in the past?
Oh, it's been extremely cumbersome. Imagine you're in a disaster zone and there's limited availability of any type of wiring system. The power may be down. In the past, we've used gift cards from different merchants. Those have to be shipped in to that area if the store is not open. Then we have to make sure that someone's on the other end that can receive them, that they can be accountable for them, and then they have to go to wherever the distribution center is. That may be in an open air space if there's no power. And it's very difficult to get that in. Well, when we were working in Hurricane Ida in the Houma Thibodeau area on the tip of Louisiana after that hurricane hit last year, and just trying to get assets delivered the old way, what I saw, the old school way to families was extremely challenging. Instead of being able to have gift cards to them in a day, it took 4 days. And families were living in tents. They needed gift cards for fuel and food and for hotel stays. So you can see the challenges that we face. And you also have a security issue. You may be FedExing that to a location. You have to make sure that someone's there to receive it and that they receive, and then you have to activate the gift cards. So many challenges while you're trying to manage a number of other situations at the same time.
And then I think there's also a fraud component that you need to be you're using government funds, right? So talk about some of the risks there maybe as well.
Well, we're using private funds, and we also have situations where we get grants and we get federal funds. So yes, I mean, there's a fraud situation that you always have to be aware of, and we are a very compliant-oriented organization. And so you have the risk of someone taking the gift cards or any other assets that we may be delivering.
Yeah, and I think it's so stark in your world because the compliance, have you already received funds from another organization, and the other pieces of the compliance, that takes time. But disaster relief victims, they need assistance right now. So you have this kind of disconnect if you want to do it properly, right?
Yes. They need it immediately. And many times when I've been on the ground, I've actually used my own money to help fund families while we were waiting for assets to be delivered.
Right, okay. So anybody know of a word that could make this a lot easier for St. Vincent de Paul? It starts with a B and ends with a chain. Blockchain, okay, terrific. So this is a really interesting example. So Liz, you are free to, we're going to run the video to talk about this technological solution. And then after that, you can kind of stay with the panel or you don't have to. So let's run the video about how we're going to turn this upside down, or right side up, I guess, even. How about a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? Isn't that it just makes your heart stop, you know, when you think about somebody going through something like that and then having this kind of experience versus, you know, the old experience. And do we have Liz back, or is she? Okay, it's a good thing maybe that we lost her, because Niall, the last time that you were with Liz in front of a large audience, you proposed to her, is my understanding. And can you tell me about that for a minute?
I can. There were 2,000 people there. It's something I could try again, Staci, if you're open to it. But
I'm good,
Liz
thanks.
didn't accept.
So tell us a little bit about Kokua and how you started working with Liz, and how tell us about the origin story and what you're trying to do.
Very happy to, and great to be here. Great to be amongst all the Algo fam, and thanks for the platform. But to give you some background, the application that you viewed there a few moments ago is called Kokua. So everything that we do as a company, we really are a mission-driven company. There's meaning behind it. There's meaning in that name, and the meaning of the word Kokua, literally in Hawaiian, is help. The deeper meaning is to extend help to others in a sacrificial way without expecting anything in return. So really what we're doing there is taking something that Liz talked about really well, which is an archaic, oftentimes cumbersome, and usually a very lengthy process that relies on check. It could be ACH, it can be payments. And the real magic that happens with that app that we demoed there is we're harnessing, and again, this is on Algo, we're harnessing decentralized identity, verifiable credentials, putting that information on a chain. And what it means is if you have an engagement with a government organization, if it's somebody giving out welfare, or if it's any charitable organization, a big pain point bringing things back into the real world is people form filling over and over and over again. I've got a cousin from Ireland who lives in Florida. Her house was blown away by Hurricane Ian a short while ago. She's now engaging with the federal government. And whilst FEMA do have an app, it's really slow, it's outdated, and it's really a connection of one portal connected to another, whereby you have to go through at least 60 different steps to get assistance. What we're doing...
60?
60, believe it or not. And that includes 5 different agencies that she got referred on to after dealing with the one initial agency. So what we do is we make it super simple. Based on your GPS location, people whip out the app, they can find out what's around them. That's oftentimes the biggest issue for people, as well as finding what's available. It displays that. And what we've done at the back end on Algorand, we've also run a partnership with Amazon. And another huge problem that we're solving that Liz didn't really talk about there is warehousing. So if you think about it, if you're hit by a hurricane or a tornado or a wildfire, to get goods to you where they're stored can oftentimes cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I'm delighted to say that we have one of our team literally on a plane in a couple of hours' time. He's heading to a place called Dixon County in Tennessee to roll this out and to put it into the hands of the survivors. And what we've done is we've an amazing partnership, which you can read about in December, with Amazon in the Wall Street Journal, whereby they're going to take care of the last mile delivery and the fulfillment of goods to help people. And again, it's all built on Algorand. It's decentralized identity, it's verifiable credentials, and we're streamlining the entire process from start to finish. And in the future, we see this as being a mechanism to deliver direct benefits to consumers, like welfare, like healthcare, like remittances, donations, all in one single location.
Okay. I feel sorry for the rest of the panel, honestly, because you've got. I think you're up to it, Ashish, though. I really do. Ashish had, Y9 had one of the greatest ideas, I think, in the history of all time. And why don't you, your insight, I think, so 4G connectivity has now, the infrastructure has been laid across the African continent, right? People like Strive have spent the money and laid this 4G infrastructure. But you had a very, very fundamental insight about the affordability of 4G phones on the African continent. So can you sort of give us your...
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Staci. It's great being here, and it's great being here with the Algo fam. Basically, what we realized was, as Africa, as a continent, majority of our people are unbanked. Mobile money penetration is very high, which is great, but that doesn't really mean truly meaningful financial inclusion. However, when we started going deeper into that and realized that for meaningful financial inclusion to really take place is we need digital inclusion to be there. And what does that mean? That means people having access to 4G handsets. As you rightly noted, Staci, that telcos across the continent have spent a ton of money building 4G infrastructure. So today you can go to our rural areas in our countries and find 4G connectivity. In some cases, 5G is being piloted. However, majority of the users, I'd say 80% on average in most of our countries, and even more in some cases, are using 2G and 3G connectivity because people can't afford the $150, $200 that's required up front to pay for that smartphone. So what Y9 has done is to truly solve meaningful financial inclusion and digital inclusion. We've come up with a membership model, which means that for a very, very small daily fee, people get a 4G smartphone bundled with a Y9 bank account, bundled with a credit scoring platform, which gives them access to other financial services down the line. 5,000 free ebooks, so it really boosts digital literacy and digital education in some forms. Plus, a play-to-earn gaming platform and the Para Wallet, etc. So
And the what?
The Para Wallet by Algorand.
The Para Wallet, is it? Oh, okay, okay, interesting, interesting.
So it will create a phenomenal ecosystem which will really create a huge positive social impact on the lives of hundreds of millions. I mean, the addressable market for this in only our continent, only in Africa, is 785 million people who have earning, who have a mobile connectivity, however, don't have 2G, only are using 2G and 3G and don't have 4G today.
And is the Anthony Scaramucci book on Algorand going to be among the ebooks that you have in the ebook library? Okay, Twitter and everybody else who has been asking me about when are you going to be doing this Africa mobile phone announcement that you were talking about, this Africa partner. This is officially the unveiling of this partnership that I have been teasing for so long. And for those that have been asking about what is this disaster relief partnership that you've kind of been teasing about, this is the disaster relief partnership that I have been talking about for so long. So it's an absolute honor for me to be able to, for us to be able to announce these today. What I think that the two of you have in common, and I'll just stay with you for a minute there, is this idea of, payments that are dependent on something else, right? So the payment that comes to you is dependent on the fact that you can demonstrate. So you have this kind of proof combined with the payment. And you also have a payment conditional on a kind of a credit scoring. So can you maybe talk a little bit more about that? And Ashish, I'll start with you. How does that work exactly? How does the tech bring better sort of payments and credit mechanisms that existed before?
Yeah, it's a great question. So Y9 has created a tech stack which enables it to, with users' permission and in line with GDPR compliance and everything else, we're able to kind of track almost 2,000 different data points to see and measure somebody's creditworthiness over a period of 60 to 90 days. And thereafter start offering, health insurance, life insurance, short-term loans, quick loans, medium-term loans, business loans, etc., based on that credit score that we're able to gather ourselves. Today, unfortunately, our countries do have national ID systems now, which is brilliant, and that's becoming more and more strict and disciplined and enforced. However, on a credit reference bureau, the traditional sense of having a central repository is not really in place today, right? There's different parts that are doing it. Nobody's really kind of put that together. And that will come, but in the meantime, we're kind of taking advantage of the data that comes out of this and really putting that together to enable other services. And in terms of integrating in the payment side, it's integrating with all the existing wallets that are out there. So there's no point of reinventing the wheel. We really want to take advantage of what is out there, but what's really missing. And we're kind of building that last mile of the missing link while taking advantage of what's in place already.
And how do you sort of, where's, FEMA, how are you using this information to actually prove that you're doing this properly?
Yeah, so a lot of the problems that the people we work with is establishing that they're sending money to the right person. If a lot of you can recall during COVID-19, a problem faced by people like FEMA and the US government was sending funding to dead people. Sounds like a joke, but it's not, but that has happened. And if you listen back to Liz carefully, what she mentioned there at the start of the video was for them to segregate the funding that they receive, to get that to the right people, it really boils down to somebody's identity. So one of the things that we do with our technology, we still enable people to own, control, manage, and eventually monetize their data, but we run them through a lightweight KYC, AML, know your customer approach. And then what we do with Algorand as a blockchain, we assign a credential to them. With that credential then, for a period of time, we can guarantee that that individual is who they proclaim to be. And that then is channeled to open up all these different things that we spoke about. Initially, it's going to be disaster relief, and we can disperse that through the platform. But it centers around the idea of identity, merging that with payments. And the way we see it right now is there's still going to be a demand to work with traditional issuer processors. We've got a partnership with an organization called Highnote. And what we're able to do there is to inject a Visa debit card into a wallet. Then people can add that to their Apple Pay. They can make payments really easily. And what you didn't see on the video a few minutes ago, the most innovative part of that is that we have a DID algo wallet address. We also have an Algorand address. And our belief then is with stable coins, when it comes to fees, the speed of movement, as opposed to 3-day ACH check payments that we keep talking about, with these different channels, blockchain truly does make an impact. And if you think about extending that then beyond the US, where we're going initially, you can really start to bring down the fees and eat them away. But again, for us, we merge identity with payments, and the value proposition is traceability and transparency. And it has been since 2015. I'm not going to talk too much about the past, but that's where we came from.
Yeah. Ashish, do you see how he mentions Algorand a couple of times in the answer like that? Okay, it's just for your next panel. I just took some guidance. Okay. So, Unar, you tell us about, one thing that I think is very interesting about inclusion is having ideas that are big and that work at scale, and then somebody says, this idea should be able to work at the micro level. So it's kind of a bottom of the pyramid kind of approach. These famous, Unilever is sort of famous for having this idea of, you should be able to sell soap packets in little sizes so that people can afford them at a small unit price. And you have, I think, one of the most interesting ideas in this space. So why don't you talk about your...
Sure. Thank you, Staci. And so we're from Singapore. We're a climate tech startup. So our focus is to inclusive climate action that's enabled by technology. So
can you speak a little louder? Because I'm having trouble hearing you too,
Is it better?
A little bit better, yeah.
Better? Oh, yeah. So we're building a platform which mobilize grassroots participation for climate action. That means through carbon credits. We're building a carbon credit marketplace that is verifiable, high quality, and everyday people can buy carbon credits as an investable option. So the current practice for climate action is there's a big project usually, and there's a big traders, enterprises, and they use carbon credits as an offsetting solution. But we want to change, we want to disrupt that through technology. We want to include digital MRV systems, even the household.
What is MRV system?
Digital MRV. So
what is MRV though?
That is basically means verifying carbon reduction activities, whether that is forestation, or whether there is a renewable energy solution, etc., or cook stove. We wanted to verify at the primary observation, which is at the point of actions taking place, and we wanted to have a transparent marketplace which everyone can access to, not just the big companies, but also individual people.
Okay, so the sort of TLDR on that is that there are carbon trading platforms already, but they are sort of for large-scale projects, right? And you enable even to the household level, is it, or individual farm? How small can you go, and how do you go small? Actually, what's your innovation on it?
So to the household level, we have a pilot project with the Asia Foundation in Mongolia. Mongolia is the coldest capital in the city, and people actually burn coal, and almost 20 tons CO2 per year for each family.
Wow.
So what we do is we install the IoT device, which actually observes what activity they're taking. And with the Asia Foundation, they installed the solar panels, and we also installed the electric heaters. So they can actually earn income by choosing a renewable energy solution for a heating system, and through that they can actually transfer to green economy much faster way. And the families that we are targeting is low-income families. That's a mother of 4 child, and those families, the only way for them to participate in climate action is economic empowerment, right? Because they care about the food they need to bring to the table. So we are just enabling through economic incentive, they can actually choose a greener solution that creates the inclusive climate action that we are envisioning.
And so there's a measurement of how much coal they're now not using, and how does that happen that they get credit for that sort of automatically? Does your system sort of, where's the marketplace for the carbon trading? Is that part of your system, or do you send it to a larger marketplace, or how does that work exactly?
So we actually have our own marketplace that we list not just our credits, but different projects. So most of our team is actually for environmental engineers, environmental scientists. So they go through all different projects, and we connected the different projects, and to see exactly they are delivering a carbon offsets, delivering CO2 reduction, sometimes CO2 removal. And we have a marketplace in which they can lease their credits, and they can sell the credits through our platform. But our platform is more designed for individual buyers, individual people that just want to use carbon crediting as an investable commodity in the future.
Yeah. So that's super cool, of course. Doug, these are all individual vertical ideas, right? And I think of you, and I'm excited that you're on the panel because you're a bit more of a cross-cutting ideal. And if I think about FTX, and I think about if the solutions that you can bring to the table, which I'll let you describe, you might be having, if this was available, you might be having the biggest impact, of all in terms of just, let me tell us what you're up to, and then we can kind of tease out some of the implications of it.
Yeah, first, thank you and the Foundation Incorporated team. I mean, you guys have been fantastic in your support of us. I mean, from really since like 2019 when I started, before you guys were in testnet, we were talking about what we're doing now, and so thank you to all.
Oh, you're welcome. Ashish, did you hear that?
Yeah, this is how you lead off.
Yeah.
So
you can have another round, Ashish.
We started looking at where are the bottlenecks in the adoption of this technology. So in all new technologies, you have this adoption cycle, and there's a chasm there between these early adopters and innovators that are in this room, and then everybody else who uses the product at some point. You usually need about 15 to 18% of the population to adopt a technology before everybody else falls in line. But there's things that are blocking that. And so a lot of it is around friction. And so we started looking at what were the friction, the pain points. And so those are identity is one, because anytime that we put content through the internet, there's usually needs to be some sort of identity component to that. But then that brings up data privacy and protections around that. And, so how can we, and then at the end of the day, it's just incredibly technically challenging to self-custody. And like the reports say that possibly 20% of all Bitcoin is just lost. And
20%.
It's not coming back, and because we just didn't know how to do it right.
Let me pause right there for 1 minute, and I want you to tell the truth. How many people in the audience self-custody? How many people in the audience only self-custody? Huh, okay. So it's not, there's a lot more than you'd get in most audiences, but it's not everybody, right?
No, but this is so this crowd, they understand the value that the technology brings. And they're willing to go through the education and taking the time to learn how to do this themselves, because you've resonated with that idea of ownership. But most people, it's too much friction because they don't see that value. It's not really clear. And so
or they don't trust themselves too. They don't trust themselves.
No.
You know.
I mean, with good reason. And even though we self-custody here, we don't self-custody everything, right? We're not our entire net worth is not in self-custody. Maybe a few people here, but it's because it's incredibly risky and dangerous if you make a slight error. And so there has to be some sort of something in place. Otherwise, we are just moving towards new custodians. And so that's where we come in. We, like Niall, we recognize the importance of coupling that identity with your assets. And so we have a process called Unique ID. So it only goes between your device and a validator. So nobody else ever sees any information about you. We just need to know that you are unique. And once that's proven, then it comes back to your device, encrypted, stored in IPFS. You have this DID, and this becomes an anchor for you. And then we generate, for any action that you take, we generate a new account on Algorand, and we link it with a zero-knowledge circuit so that you always know all of your connections, but nobody else knows any of that, because really the only people that should are the ones that are connecting. You can still see all the transactions on chain and everything can be verified, but we now have a system where developers can put a UI over this where it obfuscates all of those complexities that we talked about away, so that you can just come in and you can pull the value out of that. And one of our earliest use cases that we were putting, when we were whiteboarding, like how would this make an impact? Let's say that you have an earthquake somewhere, say in Chile, and we wanted the ability for people to press a button on a phone and say, I need help, right? And then other people across the globe could see that somebody needs help and could report this, and then they could send aid directly to those people and know for certain that it went just to the people that needed it, even though they're anonymous. They don't know who they are. But they still, so essentially we're a trust layer that sits over technically all blockchains, because we run another, I won't bore you with the details.
The other blockchains are a bit boring, honestly.
Yeah, so it's pretty boring, but we have a key system for zero knowledge proofs and circuits that matches keys on any network. So we can take actions on those different blockchains and protect your assets across all of them. But the best part is every single one of those actions gets recorded on Algorand.
Right, okay. And so what happens if you lose the information that you need? Is there some kind of protection there?
Yes, so it's biometric driven, and we have the ability to recognize your face. So when I said unique setup, when you come in and you go through this registration process, the only thing that the validator remembers is your biometrics. But this does two critical things. Number one, it won't let me make two instances of myself on the network. It will kick me back out, and it will say, you need to put in your seed phrase, or you need to go back through recovery process. And then in the recovery process, if my house burns down, all my devices there, everything's gone, I can go back through recovery. It recognizes who I am. It begins to ask me questions that I put in there into my own identity vault about myself. And so then I can recover that main account, and as soon as that main account is there, all of those associated accounts start to repopulate in my application, and so I've not lost anything. So, yeah.
It's so cool. And as I listen to all of you, and I'm not 100% sure exactly how, but it does occur to me that there is some maybe cooperation or mutual working together that you might do once you meet each other after this panel, and et cetera. And I do want to remind you now that the Algorand Foundation take on that sort of thing is 6%. So of any cooperative activities engendered by being on the same panel together, organized by myself. Let me start now with you, Doug, and just go down the line and ask the same question. Where are you actually in the execution and development process? How much of this is, not even just testnet versus mainnet, but an idea versus execution versus how many customers, that kind of thing, and let's just go this way.
So we were awarded a grant last year when I had, AVM came out, grant program came out, and I saw an opportunity. This was on Quorum, right? Because at the time there wasn't a permissionless system that I thought would be capable of doing this. So when that came out, I put that grant in, and so we completed that this summer. We built our wallet out back in January. We went on mainnet. It's in eternal beta. It's our kind of our test bed where we get to play around with fun stuff. And so now we are putting out our first product, which is called Trustable, which is simply private key loss protection and insurance from loss. And then we're going to fold in peer-to-peer beneficiary services. So we have right now over 50,000 people have signed up to test the product for us, which we need. So we need a lot of feedback on that setup process. We want to make it as smooth and as simple as possible. So yeah, that's just several weeks away. So I'm looking forward to it.
That's amazing. Okay.
So we will launch our marketplace in a month from today, and
A month from today.
A month from today. So buy carbon credits. It's a good investable option. And for digital MRV, we have a renewable energy digital MRV is done, and we're testing out the different families in Mongolia. And we're trying to increase that in more Southeast Asia region. And we also, the second one that we focused on is grassland as carbon sequestration.
Say again.
Grassland carbon sequestration.
Grassland carbon sequestration. Okay.
Verification system, and yeah, that's where we are.
And do you have a phased approach as well? How are you thinking about the phases of,
Yeah, so in terms of decentralization strategy, we have a phased approach. So first, carbon credit registry will be based on blockchain, so that's fully transparent and no double counting of carbon credits. That's a big problem in this industry. And the second, the payment has to go a more decentralized way. So in that sense, you can actually track a user fund from the carbon credits. So that fund actually goes to more climate action. And that's a very interesting initiative that we are planning. And then second, it's going to be fully automated verification system that is driven by smart contracts. So anyone can contest whether the verification is done not correctly or correctly, etc. And then lastly, we want to build a fully decentralized exchange. And then the entire ecosystem will be decentralized, and every climate action will be traceable and verifiable. And yeah.
And what about geographically? How are you thinking about expansion geographically, if at all?
Yeah, so the funnest part of what we are doing is connecting with people and communities and project developers all over the place. So we're not actually focused on one geographic location, but we're focused on different project type and a different location. So it will be if in South America, the forest is more important from a climate change, right? If it's in Indonesia, the rice farming practice is more important in terms of impact. In terms of Mongolia, the heating solution is more important. So we actually have 30 projects that's all over the place, from Ghana, Malawi, South America, Brazil, and Indonesia, etc. So there's no, I think climate change is a global issue. So that's why we have to be very inclusive in terms of geographic location.
Do you have people though in all of these? Like, how big are you? Do you have people in all of these countries, or how are you?
So yeah, we don't have the people in that country. So we have calls every day from 1 a.m. to get all over the place. So a bit exhausted. Yeah. So we have a calls, and then we do have our own due diligence team, which actually look through their projects and see the ratings stuff. And we also have a partnership based on London. So what they do is they use satellite imaging to understand what's the forest carbon score is, permanencies. It's very complicated stuff.
Yeah.
But the technologies like blockchain, AI, and satellite imaging, today it's becoming possible. So we want to be upfront in this change, and we want to bring a more impact that's more inclusive in terms of climate action.
Ashish, when did you even start? I was trying to announce this for a while, and you said, no, don't underpromise and overdeliver, and you're so kind of where are you, and where are you on the execution journey?
So thanks to Algorand.
Nice.
So no, seriously, thanks to Algorand. The Y9 team and all of us and the key stakeholders, we've been, it's been work in progress for quite some time. I'm really lucky to be a part of the journey as well. It's already been launched in Tanzania in a pilot phase, and it's already got a few thousand customers and members already on board, fully regulated in Tanzania. And the regulatory process in the next 4 countries has kind of kick-started. Obviously, it'll be one market at a time because it's a very localized model. And in Tanzania, for example, there'll be around a few hundred people across the country because every district will have presence, Y9 presence. So they'll be, really covering the country, one community at a time.
Okay, what is your sales force? Maybe it's the sort of same question. How are you getting? And then it occurs to me, like, what if you lose a phone or break the phone, and the phone goes old? Give us a little bit more about how this actually works from the consumer point of view.
Yeah, it's a great question. So thanks to Algorand. So the phone is fully insured, which means that whenever a member loses it, breaks it, it gets stolen, etc., it's fully covered within the Y9 ecosystem. And in terms of go-to-market, it's a multi-pronged approach. So the team has structured it in a way where it's focused on associations, corporates and SMEs, government, telcos, distribution partners, merchants, super agents. It's the whole 9 yards, but it's really a business-to-consumer model, right? But it's feet on the street, so the way we actually reach customers. The telcos are key partners of ours.
They're not threatened by you? I mean, they're partners?
No, actually, they're great partners because they've invested so much, the telecom operators have invested so much money getting the infrastructure up, and their ARPUs are still capped because only 20% of their users are using 4G, right? So until 4G handsets really don't get out there, people are not going to use data the way they should. So it's in telco companies' interest. And it's our balance sheet and it's our risk, right? So with no risk to them, so they're very excited about the partnership. And our strategy is not the wallet, right? So that's their business. So it's a nice complementary partnership in that respect. And setting up Y9 centers across the country, got agents, onboarding agents across the country. So there's 2 apps. There's the consumer app, the agent app, and all of that. So again, it's... I think it's a model where we genuinely believe, that there can be not only millions, but tens of millions of customers on board. And it's literally one community at a time. It's one step at a time. It's really localizing it. And we can't take it for granted. Parts of Tanzania, it's not a copy and paste model. Forget, people sometimes generalize our continent, and it's almost like whatever you do in East Africa, you can do in West. You can't even copy and paste within East African countries. You can't even copy and paste within our own cities, within a country. So truly localizing it, I think, is the key.
Yeah, but I mean, a 4G phone, I'm guessing word's going to travel pretty quickly about the idea that you might be able to, get your hands on a 4G phone, even if you don't have, $400 kind of thing. Is it the same phone? Everybody gets the same phone, is it? Or?
Yes, it's a good question, Staci. I mean, right now it's a Samsung 4G smartphone, and then we're going to be introducing lower models and higher models, so really kind of covering the spectrum because, pharma groups, etc., who are mass numbers, there's so much we can do with that. But at the same time, there's the professional segment that would like higher-end phones, so it's going to be across. And this is just the beginning. There's going to be so much more that will come along with it. The phone is just the starting point. But the fact that it's a true digital bank means that there's going to be so many other services coming across.
Yeah. Okay, where are you guys in the scale of like pipe dream to already done it kind of thing?
We're very live. So
you're very
live.
Okay.
One thing I would like to do, Staci, is compliment you on establishing an amazing team. And what I'd like to do is throw some shout outs to people in the audience who've helped us on the journey.
Okay.
But for us, Dubai was pretty critical in the journey because my co-founder, Joe, an amazing guy, the inspiration behind ATech and the audience, we pitched to the foundation about 18 months ago from Dubai in the middle of COVID because it was one of the only places you could come in the world at the time. And when we did that, we worked with Kieran Guilfoyle, who I think is out here somewhere. Kieran did amazing work. We drew from his payments expertise, and we thought about the idea of merging identity with payments. And one of the things that we did as a result of that, which is live, and it's on the Algorand Foundation GitHub repository, the timestamp will give you the date, is our incredible Chief Technology Officer, Ben, put together a decentralized identity method, which any project on Algorand today can leverage. But that was a special journey for us, and some of the people that we dealt with along the way, we had Howard at the foundation, hat tip to Howard, we had Addy, we had Hai Chow, we had Jason, who I see here in front of me, we had Matt, who is continuing to do an amazing job with us, Ryan, who helped us with the funding, Deirdre, who I see here, joined the team, one of your new amazing ones.
This does not get you more money, you know, just like, I mean, honestly, the lengths that some people will go to.
What I'm saying is the result of the team that you've established, we've made some amazing inroads, and we're really thankful and appreciative.
Okay.
And I think that's why you'll succeed. But when it comes to the work we're doing in the US, literally, there is a guy jumping on a plane in 90 minutes, flying from Connecticut all the way down to Nashville. He's going to Dixon County. Dixon County is outside Nashville in Tennessee. And what we got notification about an hour ago is that our app will go live tomorrow morning.
What, for the first time?
It'll go live on Apple and Google tomorrow morning.
Oh, wow.
So survivors will be able to download that. And what we're going to be doing then is the funding is going to be dispersed. We're doing some initial training with people tomorrow, but our plan is to make Kokua the biggest, most widely used, and the top flagship project on Algorand. No offense to these guys here, but that's what we want to make happen.
All right, well, that's absolutely amazing. And these four gentlemen share another feature, which I think we at the foundation are very proud of because we do think of ourselves as a way of leveraging success. They all have gotten funding outside of the foundation, right? So they've all been able to leverage the initial pilot work and the monies of the foundation to go and raise additional money. And my favorite of the four of them is Unor, who has actually not received any foundation money at all, right? You went out into the market and you raised your own. So how are you funded?
Yeah, we just finished our pre-seed round a month ago, and it would be nice if Algorand has contributed even more. But
no,
the reason
amazing.
why we choose Algorand is not because of the money they might give us, but it's a pure technology, and also the governance, the institution is what they believe in. And of course, if you're building a climate tech startup, you need to have most energy efficient blockchain, and Algorand is leading that. So that's why we choose Algorand.
Yeah, but what I was teasing, of course, I mean a tiny little bit, but they are all about impact, and so it's not just so much that they're just not using foundation funds and they're able to leverage foundation funds, but they're getting funding for impact at scale projects, and that is something that I think is really a really important thing. Okay, so I have a couple of more questions, but I thought I would turn it to the audience to see if anybody has any questions for any of the guys up here. And if you stand up, we'll get a mic to you, and I'll collect a couple at a time. So anything from the audience?
Hi. Really amazing. I'm curious,
just identify yourself for the two people that don't know who you are.
Oh, I'm Greg, Chief Growth Officer of NCC. We're also a utility company. I'm curious, what are your transaction costs when using Algorand as like factoring in for running your businesses? How much algo are you burning to do things on chain?
So it's built into our pricing models. So all of these accounts that we generate, we're essentially an account generation machine for Algorand. And so all of these services have a fee associated with them. And then part of that, we pull from a DEX, and we put a little bit of algo in there for the minimum, but also to manage ongoing maintenance of data. So.
And I think you guys aren't live enough, right, yet to have a sense, is it? Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? I thought I saw one. Okay, so I'm sorry, it's hard for me to see with a light. Okay, so let me now ask you sort of a forward-looking question, and you can think of this as maybe a lightning round. So we have sort of six or 7 minutes, so take a minute each, and go and paint kind of your, not your ideal world, but like where you expect to be in 5 years, and what kind of problems do you expect to have solved, and how do you think about the world, or where you want to be in, I guess, kind of what does success look like for you, kind of way. And so I'm trying to start with a different person each time. So, Uno, why don't I start with you?
Sure. In 5 years, I think, as a climate tech startup, we hope the 1.0 Celsius hope alive still.
Say that, I missed that.
1.5 Celsius degree. So basically, there's a big chance that you're going to pass 1.5 Celsius.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah.
Climate change, right?
Yeah.
So I hope that stays true, because next 5 years is going to be very important in the climate world. And secondly, we hope that we build a system in which that is really inclusive climate action, that's actually empowering the local communities to transition to green economy much faster. So yeah.
And just what about from a kind of a business perspective? How are you thinking about, where you want to be? What do you think is attainable? Not kind of crazy, but just where you think you can be.
I think for us, the biggest measurement is CO2 reduction that's happening in our platform, right? And I hope that's at least 1% of 51 billion tons CO2 per annum that's happening. So that's a big ambition, but the 1% that's happening in the most verifiable way. So it's actually having good impact for the climate.
Okay, Doug, how about you?
Oh, me? So 5 years from now, an open set of standards that include the identity and the data layer, so that when I go onto my laptop and I log in, any application that uses this layer, all of my information and data can flow between all of these applications. And it is a set of standards so that it's not just the devs in this room, but there are devs in, that are focused on, I think 65% of the Fortune 500 CIOs are either actively building or they're piloting some form of blockchain solution to improve their processes, but they're doing it on Hyperledger, they're doing it on Quorum and permission chains. While there's definite use cases for that. If individuals are involved as an end-use customer, my ideal is that it's through this, so that we still have ownership over what we're dealing with.
Just to make sure I understand, are you saying that the use of your application would mean that you don't need to be on a permission chain? Is that what?
Because once you put because the stack, like what I've described, is essentially our sovereign model.
Yeah.
But it's a flexible framework that you can bring organizations into to help with the consensus and oversight as well. And so you can have instances of place where you always get to the choice to opt into these.
I see.
But being fully private and fully compliant at the same time, and embedding all of that in the transactional level. So BSA travel rules, all that sort of stuff can be settled now with simplicity. And I think that corporations are having issues of their own because they'll do something on this chain. They're all very specific to the use case, and they're not talking to each other. So they're still using their centralized databases, and there's stuff everywhere. And so they're also asking for an open set of standards.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think you went last time. So Niall, I'll have you go next.
Yeah, thank you. So our belief is if you fix identity, you fix payments, that payments are fundamentally broken. We do believe that blockchains are the way that we can solve them. And really what we want to do, and again, I point back to the real world situation that we're dealing with. Imagine people on the ground today, get it in your head. You're in Dixon County, Tennessee. A lot of the people that we deal with and that Liz will be speaking with, and our guy on the ground tomorrow, there are people who are often underrepresented they're underbanked. There's about 34 million people, believe it or not, in the US who have no bank account. So what we're effectively doing with Algorand as a partner is putting a bank account into their hand. But unlike the bank owning, controlling, managing, and you could argue taking their data, and big tech companies also spying on them, what we enable people to do at the outset is with self-sovereign identity, as in DID algo method on the Algorand Foundation repository that you can all leverage, download today, use it. We enable people to build up their own data credit profile and own, control, manage, and eventually monetize that data. The segue, the intro that we see is putting a wallet into people's hands, like we're doing with Kokua, and then enable people to build up a profile that they have complete control over. And what we really see that is enabling people to do in the future is to build a reputation. And our belief is that the best place to build a reputation is in a privacy-preserving blockchain, and to be able to port that between blockchains, because that is the future. And if people who are building it in our Kokua app on Algorand want to take that to another chain in the future, or bring it to their bank, or bring it to their insurance company, or bring it to the federal government, they'll have the ability to do that. And again, get them to be part of that journey, and even take a commission for doing that, as opposed to the duopoly today, where you've high interchange, high transaction rates, you've got the Visa, MasterCard network duopoly. So we want to take them on with Algorand as a partner.
And what's really key in us and what we do is because of those DIDs are portable. So like he can be an issuer of identity through us, and vice versa, and they can port back and forth.
Oh.
So it can be like a very collaborative way to scale up. Yes.
6%. So Niall, don't you worry though, in terms of the disaster relief business, that if Unor is successful, that and he solves climate change, that your disaster relief wallet might go out of business?
If anything, it's going to create a bigger market. Unfortunately, that's the reality. If you look at FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, their budget last year was $80 billion. We're not saying we want to make profit out of people's misery, but if we can be part of the solution and take a small cut of that, and we're doing good, then why not? But if anything, it's we just want to be part of the solution.
Okay, Ashish, ending with you, since I've been teasing about this partnership almost since I joined the foundation.
So I would say within 5 years, the ideal scenario for Y9 would be to, in all the countries that we're operating and active, to double the meaningful financial inclusion and digital inclusion numbers. So literally double the number of people that are banked in the countries today, and also help boost smartphone penetration, which will create a huge impact on digital education, healthcare, and everything else. Thanks to Algorand.
What a way to end, ladies and gentlemen, to my amazing panel. You're very inspiring, guys, and you're a terrific way to end our 2 days of Decipher. All right, thank you so much.